We all know the polls were off again this election. First in 2016 and now in 2020. Egregiously off. Horribly off. Why does this keep happening to us? Joining us now is someone who might have some insight on the topic, People's Pundit Daily, editor and big data poll CEO, Rich Baris. Thank you for joining us, Rich.
Hi, Benny. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you back online. I see Twitter nuked you for a little bit.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. But they put me back.
Okay, good. Well, what the heck is going on with the polling industry now? Will this industry ever recover after 2020 and 2016?
Well, I hope so, but it's going to take a little mind changing. So we fell into groupthink. That's what's going on. You know, it's critical not to do so if you're a data journalist, data scientist at all, but that's what's happened. And we need to evolve. We need to recognize that different groups of people respond to different modes of collection at different rates. But unfortunately, I have had a difficult time bringing other people around to that, although there's been plenty of evidence to suggest that we've been right about that.
Yeah, you have been relatively right. You've been more right than a lot of the people who have been doing this for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, who have now beclowned the entire industry by just seemingly being professionally wrong. This has an effect on the election as well. Voter suppression happens when you see polls like Joe Biden is up by 17 in Wisconsin, and he's up by 20 in Michigan. Can you speak to what happens when pollsters get it so egregiously wrong?
Yeah, we have a bit of a public duty to make sure we're at least in the realm of reality. So when you see that, you give to Joe Biden, you think he's going to win. So you give him more money. It has an impact on fundraising. It can suppress motivation to vote for one candidate or another. So it does have an impact on it. And there's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that, to support that. But that's why we really should take this more seriously than we do. Unfortunately, we don't.
You follow this closer, Rich, than almost anyone. And again, you have an excellent track record, unlike many, many corporate pollsters. What did they get wrong? How did they get it so wrong in 2016 and 2020?
So the media loves live caller, and that's number one. That's really, there's a lot of things that I could go and speak hours about, but the live caller mode of data collection, where you call somebody on their cell phone or on a landline, most liberal-leaning groups, they love to tell you what they think. They don't mind staying for an interview, 20 minutes with a live caller. But most conservatives and working-class people, A, they don't have the time, and B, they don't want to share that with you. So you really do need to approach them in another way, goad it out of them a little bit. Make sure they understand their answers are anonymous, the interview is confidential, and it's a lot more money to live polls. So there's definitely an element there. It's a status quo. It really is a boys' club.
A boys' club, yeah. Yeah, well, that sure does indeed describe Vox.com and 538. Just a lot of soy also. What do you see when it comes to polling in the future to not have these kind of catastrophes? What must we do, particularly as conservatives, because it seems as though these polling errors always go one way. And so when you have a poll that's showing the Democrat up by a bajillion points, who's going to change that if you're a leftist? You're not going to. That actually helps you. What can conservatives do to make sure that polling is equitable?
Yeah, I would tell them first and foremost, ignore it. So there's usual suspects every year that we see making these errors. Get to know them. Get to know when to ignore them. You know, the same people every year tell us bad information. Don't listen to them anymore. And then find people that do have a better track record and pay more pay attention to what they're doing more closely than others. And really, until the industry starts to suffer like everyone else who has a job anywhere else, you do your job poorly, you get fired. Until that happens, they have no incentive, Benny. They have no incentive to get better.
Yeah, it really does seem like a horrible, horrible cyclical cycle of the media paying for polls, getting the polls that they want, the numbers that they want to see. So the pollsters are happy, the media is happy, and the American public gets screwed.
Exactly right.
Really quickly here, what is your take on the current status of the campaign and all of the insanity that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, the way we changed our election integrity laws, basically put a moratorium on there. We invited this. We invited the mayhem. And I think that the best course forward is let all of the skeptics have their investigations. We're doing some of our own. Instead of censoring and pushing us off of social media, let us do the work. Let's move forward, because we'll all be better as a country if we can come to a conclusion that everybody finds fair. If we don't, and they squash these probes, these investigations, these recounts, even audits, then people will move forward again another 4 years calling someone illegitimate. And we can't continue like that. We just can't.
No, it's terrible, terrible for our country. Nobody wants an illegitimate president. Nobody wants their president to be called that. I think everyone just wants a free and fair election. And thank you for your job and your efforts to make it as free and as fair as possible.